Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to tonight's live webinar. This is for those of you who are in one of our training programs. Most of you are predominantly in the Investor Agent Training Program, which is great for everybody because everything we cover is pretty relevant. Whether you're in the flipping program or the rental program, wholesaling, what have you. Or property management. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard also to all the new folks, particularly those of you who are, some of you may be in the El Paso Market Center, but if you are, it's because Beverly moved fast yesterday. So welcome aboard. Welcome aboard to the folks in El Paso, Glendale, Remax office there. Actually 5 offices. Kudos to you guys. All right. And everybody, whether you're new to the program or a veteran, I appreciate all of you. Particularly, I love the fact that when you veterans still get on these things, even after some of you, it's been more than 2 years, some of you almost 3 years. It's just amazing. So I appreciate that. It really helps a lot. Okay, a couple things, a little bit of housekeeping. If you are new, you'll notice that you have the ability to type in questions, and that's how we basically communicate during the webinar. However, just like tonight, I'm gonna pass control to Cedric at some point. He'll be live audio and visual, and we're going to go through a demonstration of a tool that I've heard about and never actually used because I was always able to get data for free, but we've had situations where it has been a little bit more of a challenge. This is an awesome tool that's very affordable, and it really, quite frankly, gives you everything you need. So we're gonna go over an example of how you can use some of the current tools that we have for free, go through an example of how to use the letter, and then we're going to jump into how we can use Rebo Gateway to get all kinds of data. Okay, so from time to time, yes, we will unmute you. You'll be live audio, and sometimes visual. For the most part, everybody's by default in mute mode. Always remember too, please send me suggestions for material that you want to cover. I like to see it about a week in advance if possible. So that if I want to get case studies from other students from around the country, U.S. or Canada, that is, which we have done a lot of times, we can have them be prepared. We're prepared, and you guys get a much better use of your time here on this hour. Sometimes a little bit longer, by the way. So I don't stop until all the questions are answered. So in any case, tonight what we're going to do is this. We've had a lot of suggestions and questions revolving around how do we actually locate the best prospects in the best areas. Okay, now everybody here is familiar with School Report and Melissa Data, which is the another tool that allows you to type in zip codes and get neighborhood data at the zip code level, or excuse me, neighborhood data within zip code. Okay, as a reminder, School Report gives you sales data. In most cases, it's broken down by school area or school district. Sometimes we call it a school cluster. In some parts of the country, like New York, particularly the five boroughs, we do it by zip code, okay? Because like where Natasha lives, there's like 72 zip codes. All right, in Manhattan, there's 142, and in Canada, we don't even have cool information available to us. So we use what's called Canada Post or CanPost. All right, Canada Post is the Canadian postal system. Like in the U.S., you have a U.S. Postal Service. All right. So there's a different, if you are a Canadian, obviously you recognize there's a completely different module 1 for Canadians. Okay, any case, that's the housekeeping. Also tomorrow, every day after the webinar, you're going to get the email with the link to the recording of the webinar. That's every one we do. And in that email, Beverly often provides other instructions or other pertinent information. So please, look at the email, see what Beverly has to convey to you information-wise. Sometimes we're updating material, sometimes we're updating schedules. So it's really important for you to check those. And we also are now using text because a lot of you, it's just faster just to get a quick text. We don't use text to sell stuff. We use text to communicate. So if you haven't opted in for texting, please do it because sometimes we need to communicate with you individually, directly, like from Jody, for example. And it's just easier just to do that, and it's easier for you too, quite frankly. So in any case, keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and jump into this. All right, what we're going to do is this. I'm going to breeze through the School Report and Melissa Data not to go in detail. I'm just going to remind you of what it is, how we use it, and why we use it. Then we're going to look at the letter. And again, we're not going to review the letter in detail because we've done that a number of times. You actually all have the letter too, okay? But more importantly, I'm going to show you how to identify specific people, specific owners of specific properties using public information to help us narrow down our efforts and focus only on the absolute best prospects, the ones most likely, the most highly probable people for us to do business with. Okay, and it's not a science, it's just a method, it's just a process. So everybody just please take a deep breath and relax, because you're going to really enjoy this. If you're looking for business, you come to the right place. So let's get started. All right, I'm going to reduce my panel, so I'm not going to be able to see your questions for a moment. All right, I'll bring it back. We'll take breaks here periodically, but let's do this. First things first, let's go to school report. Just a reminder, okay? So remember, every two columns represents either a school area, like could be elementary school, could be junior high, could be high school, could be a school cluster, could be a school district, okay? So Hopewell could be an elementary school, could be a school district. Remember, in New York, we use zip code. So zip code 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will show up first and second column. Every area gets two columns. First column is active, second column is sold. Active are the properties on the MLS in the residential world, 1 to 4 units, that are actively listed in the area. They would like to see the information in price bands. Most cases, we start at 100,000. We do 50,000 bands up to $500,000. Then we do 100,000 bands to $1 million, and then we do $250,000 bands. Now, if you're in Southern California, where I just spent the last 2 months, you might want to start off your lowest threshold at around 350, 400,000 in most areas. If you're in like, Hollywood or, Newport Beach, some of those areas, you might even start at 500,000. Okay, just remember this. This is a model to be followed in each area. This thing is very adaptable and very flexible. So in any case, we want to see this information in 90-day intervals. So at the time you run the report, in this example, there were 35 active listings between 100 and 150,000 in Hopewell. And there, in the last 90 days, 26 of those homes have sold. So you've got sold and active data. What this does is this tells you where you want to go focus your time, energy, and money, and that of your, in this case, investors. Let's just talk about our flippers, for example. So if you look at this, you can see you want to be in an area probably where you have more solds than you have actives, okay? But you also want a volume. Like there's not a lot of volume here in South Butler. 9 active, 18 sold. If you look at Butler, lots of volume, 65 active, and 39 is sold. That's not too shabby. But if you look over here, check this out. Seneca, between 150 and 2, 28 are currently active, and 65 have sold in 90 days. Now, I don't know about you, but this is where I want to go do my business, okay? Whether I'm a licensee using it to drum up listings or a flipper looking to flip, either case, this whole area right here is kind of a good example of where you want to be. You've got people looking to sell, you have people wanting to buy in greater numbers than the sellers, okay? So if you're using it, even for traditional owner-occupants, guys, this is invaluable. I mean, don't go canvassing all over this entire area. Don't go door knocking, any of that kind of stuff. Postcards, focus only on this area, okay, and use circle prospecting for traditional listings. For investors, we now know where to take our flippers to go flip, okay? So that's the first thing. That's school report. Now let me reduce this so I can go back to go to the next thing, which is Melissa data. So keep in mind, so far we know the school area and we know the price range. In this example, between 150 and 300,000. Okay. So let's go to now melissadata.com, and you can see up here. Here's the URL, the actual link, everything up to here, cartzip.asp. You type that in, you'll get this screen right here, and you can see it's already preset to 75225, which is Dallas, one of the Dallas area zip codes. Okay, so what we're doing, let's just say we go back to our school report. We know we got to be between 150 and 300,000, and we know we want to be in Seneca School District. We get the zip codes serviced by Seneca. We come in here and plug in the zip codes, and for every zip code, we get the carrier route data, the route that the postman takes with the mail for that zip code. You can see lots of carrier routes. Every route with a C is a carrier route. Every route with an R, there's no R routes here. They're called rural routes. They tell you how many people live there, what they make, average salary, and the average property value. So check this out. Carrier route 19, the average salary is $250,000. And average home price is $1.366 million. So I don't know about you, but that sounds like a pretty sweet area of Dallas. That's zip code 75225. By the way, the Dallas area is one of the fastest growing areas in North America right now. There's several areas, but that one is absolute boomtown. In fact, I'll be there the week before Memorial Day. I'll be back there again. I was there in January and February. I'll be back there again. There's another area there. Look at that, 225,000 average salary. That average salary is higher than some of the ones I've seen in California. Another one at 227. So for those of you, and look at the average home price here, 2.4 million. Okay. Yep, that might be where you want to go do some business. So in any case, we can narrow down by zip code to the individual neighborhoods. Each one of these carrier routes, right, is like a neighborhood. So now we got specific information as far as the type of areas we want to invest in. Okay. Now let's do this. Let's go bring up the letter. Okay. And here's a letter. And if you remember this, everybody has this at your disposal. Remember, very short and sweet, salutation name specific, first name only. Okay. We name their property specifically first sentence. And I'm not going to read this to you guys. I've done that a number of times in classes, and you all have it available to you. If you do need me to break this down so you understand the psychology behind it, just let me know. We'll do that. We'll spend another class on doing some of that stuff. Okay. But remember, one of the key features here is we actually name one of our clients by last name only. It actually revs up the response rate. Okay. Then you sign it and put in your contact information, where you work, all that kind of stuff down here. Okay. So that's the letter. So now we know the areas we want to be looking in. We now know, and we know it specifically to the neighborhood level. All right. We now have a tool we can use. So the next thing is how do we actually use that tool? We don't want to send it out to, let me look at it, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. 6,517 people in that zip code. I don't know about you, but I'm not sending out 6,517 letters. Now, I will tell you this. The reason why this is so important, we had a student in Whittier, California last year, last March. Prior to joining the program, she was doing a traditional postcard campaign, 7,000 postcards, not one phone call. Okay, so don't do that, especially with investors. Use the letter that we give you. All right. So in any case, we got the tool. We've got the range we want to go hunting in. Now let's get specific targets. Okay. So here's how we accomplish that. First things first. Let me see if that's where I want to be. Okay, I got that. Okay, good. I'm going to back up here. I'm going to back screen because, this is ultimately a search screen on a public records database that gives you case information for recent filings. Now, before I go into too much detail, let me take a quick check here on questions and make sure I'm not leaving anybody in the dust. So hang on one second. Let me go back up here. Let's see. Here's Dottie. Dottie says, okay, we got to Dottie's question. Okay, Dottie again. Okay, Carol. Siri. Oh, Siri's involved too. Dottie, that is awesome. Please tell her I said hello. Okay, good. All on our awesome investors group. Okay, tonight after baby sleeps, Carol's going to type in her email to me. Okay, good. Okay, my study group at KW New York City just finished module 4. We tried the graph function on Facebook, but it didn't work. Can you go over whether we can still use that function, can you also go over other marketing methods in a bit more detail? We really didn't get much out of the recording. Okay, yeah, the module 4, Andy, is really a summary. Where you're going to get all the marketing is actually on the membership section of the website. So if you go to myinvestmentservices.com, go into the silver level membership section, which you're on by default. You're automatically a member there. And scroll down, you'll see all of the webinars we've done. They're all recorded there, and you have access to them, audio, visual. So each campaign is individually covered in those webinars in great detail. Some of them take up to 4 webinars to go over it. Now, somebody else was asking about the Facebook technique too. We call the Facebook Ninja technique. I'm going to have to try it on my own. I'm not a Facebook guru. We actually got that from somebody else. It was just a real neat little trick way to send private messages to people, but not through Facebook Messenger. Have it actually post directly on their timeline, which kind of freaks them out. But it works. Okay. In any case, they may have disabled that. Facebook is sort of like Google and Craigslist. I mean, they're constantly plugging up loopholes and making sure everybody plays by the rules. So that could be one of the things. It really isn't part of the program. It's just something, a neat trick we picked up. But they may have disabled it, but I'll find out. Okay. Okay, so that was Andy, and I think that was it for the questions. Okay, so let me produce my panel, guys. Hang on 1 second, and we'll get back to the content. Okay, I'm going to go back here a few pages so you can see how I got started. All right, so this is a public records database in Allegheny County, and first thing I do is I log in. And by the way, this is free. Okay, if you saw, let's go back. You can see there. You know, it has your search credit card. You know, if you notice, I didn't type anything in there. There are paid services. In fact, attorneys generally do pay for this stuff because they need case detail. We don't need case detail. We just want the summary of each case. We want plaintiff and defendant name and address more specifically. So let's log in. Okay, and there is a great search function. You just type on search now. And remember, every public records database, guys, is going to have a different look to it, a different way to process through it. You just have to locate yours, and there is a database or a sheet of databases I think was given to everybody that shows you how to locate your particular public records. It's actually quite easy. You can just type in Google public records and the name of your county and your state, and you'll get some links there. Look for the ones that are actually the actual government links first. Okay, don't do the paid stuff yet. We're going to go over a paid service here in a minute. And again, so let's do a basic search here. Okay, if you notice, you can search by block and lot number. You can search by case number. You can search by date, range, and name. All right, search for property, judgment, docket. We don't have that kind of stuff. What we can do is search by date. We can search by date range. Now, this is my personal opinion. I like to do 7-day searches. In other words, I don't want to go back more than 7 days on any new filing. And we would do this on a regular basis. Every Monday, we would do a search on the prior week's filings for all the different categories. Okay, and here's the different categories. Oops, sorry. Arbitration is generally part of your Court of Common Pleas, the Court of Common Pleas level. All right, now most state and provincial court systems are very much alike. Okay, I mean there's republics. You know, California's a republic. There's commonwealths. Pennsylvania's a commonwealth. And there's different ways in the states that the states can be set up. But regardless, the court system is generally starts at the federal level and then goes to the state level, then goes to the county level, then the local level. So that same format exists for just about everywhere in the U.S. and Canada. Okay, so the arbitration level, that's part of Court of Common Pleas, and if I click on that, I can look at the cases that have been filed in the last 7 days. Okay, and by the way, arbitration is a way for the Court of Common Pleas to help process more cases more quickly without having to actually go to a formal court, okay, like trial, for example. So what I'm looking for here is I'm not really interested so much in basic arbitration. In this case, I'm looking for landlord-tenant cases. Okay, there's one there, Housing Authority against Reed. Oops, let me go to the next one. Here's several more. Okay, let's do this. Let's pick one. We can see here's LT. LT means landlord-tenant. It was filed on the 26th of April, and it's case number 460. So LT, by the way, 17 refers to the year. So already in this year, it towards the end of 4 months, we're up to 460 cases. All right. Now it's searching for it now. Now, just to give an idea, this is the appeal level. Okay, at the appeal level. So what that means is this poor guy, the landlord, more than likely won at the magistrate's level. At the magistrate's level, there may be, you know, 100-to-1 ratio, 100 magistrate cases for every one arbitration case. So there's a lot of cases going on out there, right? And essentially, at the appeals level, we're already up to 460. We'll probably past that now because now we're into May, right? So we did a date range search. On that case, we got the case information, so let's see what it shows us. Okay, remember this is LT, landlord-tenant. Yeah, and the defendant is the one that appealed. So that the landlord won, the plaintiff won, the defendant appealed. Okay, and let's see what they tell us. Thankfully, they give us the defendant, the tenant, by the way, name and address, and obviously Robin and Jason both live at 520 Roop Street. Okay, and the plaintiff, who's the landlord, obviously filed against these people probably because they didn't pay rent. So Amber Stone is the plaintiff. Now the good news is this: we get the address where the tenants live. So the owner owns 520 Roop Street. The owner themselves, Amber, actually lives on Brackenridge Avenue. So she lives on Brackenridge Avenue and owns the property on Roop Street and rents that out to Robin and Jason, Robin Magach and Jason Oling. I'm probably really destroying those names there. But the thing is this. Let's say you have a client, an investor who wants to find a rental property. Okay, remember the letter? So we take this letter, we're going to send it. We don't change the wording at all. We just change who it's going to. We change the property address in reference to. All right, so this address here happens to be the name of the rental property. This is not the owner's address. The owner, in this case Clay, lives somewhere else. Clay happens to own this property and he rents it out. Okay, so that's the letter. Let's go back to where we were. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this letter. We're not going to send it to Robin and Jason, who live at Roop Street. We're going to send it to Amber Stone, who lives on Brackenridge. All right, and we're assuming she's going to be more highly likely to want to sell because she's currently evicting people who've appealed her to the second level. This is why this is so critical. I mean, think about that. The mindset of a person who's evicting somebody and they won at the magistrate's level, then they got appealed, they had to go to the common pleas level. Do you think they might be more interested in just getting rid of this thing, right? So that's why the letter works so well. So what we do is we send it to this property. Now, if you really want to go a step further, okay, let's type in 520 Roop Street on the county real estate records. Okay, so this is an example of a county real estate database. Every county has one. The only exception is in New York, maybe New Jersey, I can't remember. So so Roger or Fassel, if either of you guys are on, let me know if it's New Jersey. Are the county public records or the tax assessor's records at the county level or the state level? Because I can't remember. But every other state, they're at the county level. Now up in Canada, guys, we don't have this. We have to use GIS data. There's a couple different data sources we use to get this kind of information. So let's look at the 520, and I can't remember the address, Roop Street, Tarentum. Let's type in Roop, oops, 520 Roop, and municipality. Let's see if we can find to rent them, and there she blows, and type search. Okay, so we typed in 520 Roop Street into Rentham, municipality 855. Stone, Amber Stone is the owner. We already saw that, so we just confirmed that. The reason we're doing that, guys, is this: we want to validate and confirm using the county data, the county property data, that Amber Stone is in fact who we want to locate and send this letter to. We want to send it to her address, not this address. Remember, Amber owns this property. She doesn't live there. What's interesting though is she's had her owner mailing at the rental property. I don't understand that because I never did. Owner mailing to me was always where I lived, or my PO box. Okay, but in any case, you can see we got county property records. We have county court records. Okay, and now we can send that letter to Amber, who's evicting these people. All right, that's one example. Let me give you, that's an example of how do you find people who own rentals. Now let's look at, let's say we're looking for some flip inventory, okay? And we're gonna look at, we can look at foreclosures. So let's look at one of those. Date range last week, so we're gonna see who's been notified, what we call NOD, notice of default, in the last week. And as you might guess, there's a bunch of those. Look at that. There are actually right now more foreclosure filings at this point in the year, 521 to be exact, than there were eviction appeals, which was at 460. So if you guys are questioning whether you should be focusing on investors, I think you got your answer right here. We knew this was happening, and you can't get much better than actual raw data. The raw data telling you that there's a lot of foreclosures going on. All right, we're already at past the 500 level in just this county. Okay, so in any case, let's click on the case number and see what we get. So computer's thinking about it, and let's scroll down. Okay, so the mortgage that's in default is, the current balance is 112,000. Okay, so they probably had a beginning balance of somewhere north of 112, obviously, and they fell on hard times, and now they're having a hard time paying their mortgage. And the mortgage servicer is in Newport Beach, California, where I just was. San Miguel Drive, I know exactly where that is. So for all the Californians, you probably know exactly where this is. So this lender is foreclosing on Carrie and Christopher Gardner. Okay, and we get their address, of course. So let's do this. Before we send in the letter, let's go look up 700 Naylor Street on the county record just to make sure. Okay, 700 Naylor Street, and I think that was Pittsburgh. I don't think we have any idea which borough was in Pittsburgh. Was in 14th Ward. So let's see, Naylor Street, Christopher and Carrie Gardner, mailing address. They have their mail going to 6125 Freedona Street. So here's what I would do, guys, in this case. I would send that letter to this address, and I would send the letter to this address, the address that's where the mortgage is in default. Okay, so we don't know what's happening there. Quite frankly, we don't care about all the details. We're not going to get involved with anything like, I personally don't like short sales, although I've done them. I would prefer to have the property actually go into foreclosure, which makes our lives a lot easier. So in any case, so now let's say you're looking for flip inventory for your clients. Okay, so we start off with school report, get the school area and the price range. All right, then we get the zip codes for that area, narrow it down, right, by neighborhood within zip code, so zip code there, and all the neighborhoods are down here, right? These are all the neighborhoods. So we narrow it down to neighborhoods that are priced between, in our example, 150 and 300,000. Okay, and this is probably not a good example of a list of data for that area, but it's Dallas, by the way. Matter of fact, I wonder if I did a, let's see, what would be a zip code there? 15, oops, go back here, 15101, submit. And you can see there's plenty of areas that are between 150 and 300,000, right? Almost all of them, in fact. And you even got some rural routes here, okay? So in any case, we know the neighborhood within the zip code within the school area. We want to find a flip property. So we use this letter, okay? We're going to send it to, all right, people who are going through a foreclosure. We're going to send this exact letter. We're not going to change any of the wording. We're not going to say, Dear Clay, I'm writing to you about your pending foreclosure. You don't want to say that. Just write it just like this, okay? So, and then you come here. You come to your public records first. Find out. Get these foreclosure records. Look at the zip code and match them, right, to the Melissa data. So let's do that. 15207. I probably should have done that to begin with. I don't know if I know 207. 15207. Yep. So that's actually, it's a lower price area, but there's definitely some neighborhoods that I would target for my investor. So in any case, we get that, find out who's going through divorce, validate ownership, and send that letter, ship them off to it, okay? Now let's do this. I want to go back and give you guys another example. So that was for closure, I think, right? Yeah, that was for closure. So let's do one more, and then Cedric, I want to put you on, man. All right, so the clock is ticking here. So let's do last 7 days. Let's do family division and search, okay? And let's just see, we got the, let's go to the bottom one here. Let's go to the, now here, by the way, guys, I want to tell you something here. You know, you have to have a sense of humor in this life. Sometimes when you're doing this, most cases you're looking in your area, you're going to see people that you know, right? Going through divorce, going through bankruptcy, foreclosure, the whole 9 yards, going through eviction. Don't be surprised over time if you see familiar names. I'm just giving you a heads up there. So let's look at Horowitz. So Horowitz is filing against Horowitz. Somebody did something to somebody else and they're not happy. Okay, so they're splitting up. And let's see here. I like that guy's name, Mark. This is the judge, Mark V. Tranquilli. Any case, let's go down here. We get the address, 3111 Westchester Drive, 15238. All right, so let's go validate that they're actually the ones who own that. 3111 Westchester. 3011 Westchester. Hang on one second. Let me bring this down 1 second here. 3111. Oops. Oh, come on, computer. 3111 West Chester. And let's see if I got that right. There it is. There's the Horowitzes. Okay. David and Deborah, they own that property. All right. It's worth about $300,000. And chances are one of them is still in the home and one of them has moved out. They could both still be there, but don't worry about that kind of stuff at this point. We just want to validate that they actually are there. They own the property. They still name that address as the mailing address. So we're going to send them this letter. And if you notice that we're not saying, Dear David, I'm sorry to hear about your pending divorce. We just say, Dear David, I'm writing to you about your property, 3111, whatever that address was, okay, Westchester. I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. So we don't mention anything at all about whatever challenges they're experiencing in life. We just offer a solution. That's all we do, okay? So guys, this is how you use this letter in conjunction with Melissa data, planning commission website and school report to approach specific people in specific areas that we know make sense. In this an example for our flippers, okay? That's the process you use, and this is how you laser beam focus, laser beam target, and get much higher response rates on your activities. All right, before we bring on Cedric, let me bring my panel back over and look for any questions. on what we just went over. Okay, let's see, Dottie. Dottie, on your, I have a message from you. It's all plus signs with a 6. I don't know if you were hitting the keypad accidentally. Fassel saying, so Jersey's county level. Okay, thanks, Fassel. Glad to see you, Fassel, by the way. All right, Peter, why search if you already have the landlord's address? Yeah, the reason is, Peter, we just want to validate that the address that they have on the county housing data files matches what's on the court records, okay? You can, in most cases, they're going to be a match, but in some cases they're not. As a matter of fact, the one we looked at earlier, it was not a match. It was the girl who was, I can't remember her name. She was the one evicting the 2 tenants. So that's why we do the county records, because that's the address they're using for mailings relative to their property. So sometimes you'll notice if you can search by owner name, an owner will own multiple properties. What you want to determine is which one is the one they live in, which is where you're going to send your marketing information, versus the ones that they rent out. So it doesn't make any sense to send information to those properties, So Peter, that's really why. It's just a source of validation. Sometimes we do use it specifically for other purposes too. All right, Fass was asking how many letters. Oops, hang on a second. Wait a minute, I got to go backwards. I just lost my thought, my spot here. Okay, so Fassel was asking, how many letters do you have to send to get a response for sale? So Fassel, this is always anytime you do a direct mailing, it's 12. 12 is the magic number. You got to send at least 12 of them. Now, if they respond to you after the first one or the 4th one or the 7th one, obviously there's no need to send them any more letters. Okay, but once they respond, now they're a prospect, and you've got to put on your agent hat and work your magic and get that listing, get an appointment to get the listing. So back to your answer your question though, the magic number is 12. In every one of these examples, by the way, it's always 12. Sometimes you're sending it once a month for 12 months. Sometimes you're sending it every week for a couple of weeks, and then after a month you send it bi-weekly for a month or 2, and then you'll send it every month after that. So that rotation may end after 6 months, for example. Okay, you just have to know the application and to think and ask yourself, okay, in these circumstances, how often should I write this person? And sometimes using that letter every week versus every month in the beginning is the way to go. Okay, so good question. I appreciate that question. Okay, Peter says, go back to Melissa data. What would be the best neighborhood to send letters to? Okay, so Peter, hang on one second. Melissa data, let's go back here. So in this example, oops, hang on. In this example, I would send it to this one here, 124,000. I'd send it here, 132,000. And I'd send it here, 129,000, okay? Let's do this. Let's just, for grins, 15101. Let's type that in, and we can see there. In the example we were using, where it says we should be between 150 and 3, I would send it to all of these areas except this one at 301. That's just above it. I wouldn't send it to this one, which is 339, right above that. Okay, but I would send it to, and I would not send it to these last 2 because they're outside our range of 150 to 3. So Peter, that was just that example. Really, the answer to your question, Peter, is this: once you know your school areas, you get the zip codes serviced by those school areas. You plug those zip codes in here, okay, right there, and then you look for carrier routes that have price ranges in that price range. That's how you really use the tool there. So, but excellent question. Okay, so let me go back here. That was Peter. Dottie, sorry about that. Oh, no worries, Dottie. No worries. Okay. Okay. This is Dottie. Okay. If it is a house you're sending the letter to do the divorcee single-family home, do you leave the 4-unit part? No. Yes. So Dottie, that letter had, in other words, let's go back to the letter. So in this example, let's say this is the property address is a single-family home. Where am I getting this? Home. Yeah, and this right here, Dottie, what I would say is this: who want to buy a property just like yours. I wouldn't say 4-unit building. This has to match the type of property that it is. So if it's a duplex, you would say duplex here. If it's a single family home, you would just say property. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Peter Lester, got it. Okay. Thanks, Peter. All right, Cedric. Let me bring up my attendee panel, and let's see. We got a full house tonight, guys. We got some serious veterans on here, man. This is awesome. Okay, Cedric. Cedric, I'm going to make you live. So hang on to your seat. I'm going to make you presenter. So Cedric, you're going to see an icon or a pop-up on your computer. Just click on it, and you're going to be live audio and visual. So here it goes. And let me know when you're ready, Cedric, and let's go and show them Rebo Gateway. Okay, I can hear you. Cedric, you there?
Yep, I'm here, and I'm on the screen here. I'm not sure if you guys see my screen, but I'm here. I can hear you fine.
We got it. So world meets Cedric, Cedric meet world.
Hello, investor world.
Yeah, and Cedric, thanks for doing this, by the way. And I'm going to let you show some examples of how we can use this. I know you're in the Southern California area, the LA area, but maybe we can look at, I know there's a number, I played with it myself. We can look at, people behind on the taxes, people in foreclosure, people going through divorce, all kinds of things. But just give us a couple examples, and I'm going to bring the panel back over and see what kind of questions we get. Also, if you don't mind, I'm not here to push any particular product, but I think this is an awesome product. So if you have recommendations, what it's costing you, anything you can think of to share with your fellow students, man, that would be awesome.
Okay, and I'll pick out 2 or 3 things. First is the cost, which everyone wants to know. I got this about 3 years ago, and at the time, I believe they were selling it by county, and I am just Orange County right now. After I get done with this program, probably by the end of the month, I'll be in Los Angeles County and Riverside County, but it's $29.99 a month for me. And so that's what I've invested in it. And I use it for a variety of things. I used to use it to search for expires, but since Gary just got off of the notice of defaults by county real quick, there's a county search button that's on here. And I also, Gary, go week by week for the searches that I do because it maximizes at 1,000 units itself. So what I did, since Gary was on that, I picked out Orange County, which is the only county that I subscribe to, and then it gives you an option here. And I think this is probably what Gary likes, and this is what we spoke about a week or so ago. These are all the different types of searches that it provides from public records. And it goes everything from bankruptcies to divorce to empty nesters. I happen to pick notice of default for this, and then you can pick your date range that you want to look. And then another thing, I haven't used letters as much, and so I search with the filter here for phone calls. And so what I'll do is click on the phone only, and then I'll also omit things that are already on the market or on the multiple listing service or with real estate agents. But in this case, we're going to stick with a broad search because we want to mail to these folks. Hopefully it doesn't crash anything here. We're going to mail to these folks, and what it's done is it pulled up 82 different names in Orange County that have defaulted in the last week.
Yeah.
And so these are all things that are all names and addresses and zip codes that have defaulted. Now here is what I'll call part of the cool process of what I like about this, and then I'll share one other thing, is that once these names are pulled up, I use a dialer so I can export these, but now I'm going to use it as an export into a mailing list. So I am able to pull all of the names and addresses that are defaulted in the last week in Orange County and then go into an Excel spreadsheet that I'm able to use here. And I'll export that. And now that we have our proprietary information and system here, the school report we have in place, Melissa data we have in place, looking at the carrier routes and the letters, I can go into specific addresses for these. So I'll pull this up real quick here. But it'll data export this. And I use this every week for my expires and for sale by owners that pop up. And then I'll show you the third thing that I use it for, which is I'll call it limited thinking here. I'll put this on the desktop real quick. And I'll show you what the format is when it exports. And it exports a lot of the information. It doesn't export everything, but the thing that's most important to us is getting the name and address so that we can cross-check that with what we already know are areas that are high likelihood for us to market to, whether they're in pain from a default, a divorce. There's a probate search that's on here, but this it comes up as a CSV file, and it's running in the background there.
Okay.
I guess once it comes up here, perhaps maybe someday.
Well, while you're waiting on that, I think I did look into it. I think it's now $35. But
Okay.
I tell you what, we were in Nashville operating last year, and it was $35 to get direct access to public records there. That's what their government was charging. But it's well worth it if you think about what you're getting. I mean, it's just that's unbelievable. So Fassel, this is for you, man. So Fassel Khan and Roger, we were looking at Bergen County. Remember, Fassel, we could only get so far with it, and everywhere we looked, everything we tried, we had to do a name search. Well, this allows you to kind of circumvent that. These guys are actually scraping the data. They're the ones paying for all that access, and the way they make money is they offer to us at a it's like group. They're taking something they created once and they're selling it to hundreds and thousands of people. That's how they're able to make it so affordable. So this may be a great alternative Fassel for you, man.
Right. So here's another thing why this is still coming up. It'll allow you to set up searches up to 1,000 units, and as a matter of fact, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but what I've done, I believe there's 7 or 8 different groups or farms is what they call it that you can set up, and I have these set up for the areas that I work in, and it automatically every day will send me an email that gives me the information of if there's a default, if there's a notice, if there's a divorce that's being filed, if there's a home that's expired. I get an email every morning with a list with those farms in it. It tells me what happened to those. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I'll show you what's going on with.
And the reason that's important, guys, is this: a lot of agents will say, "Well, why don't I just go to my title company and ask them to send me information, or go to a divorce attorney to get information, or go to a probate attorney." And you can do all that. That's a lot of work, but remember, those guys have their own businesses. They're busy. They're not always thinking of us, okay? What this allows you to do is to bypass going to an attorney directly, go right to the data directly, and when it comes out, you're not waiting. You're getting the data at your fingertips instantaneously. You don't have to wait for an attorney to get back to you. And by the way, that attorney might be sharing that same information with a number of people, you know?
Right.
So this is a way to give yourself a competitive advantage, you know?
Right. So I spend about a half an hour on Monday morning pulling this down, but every day I get a search from, what came up here? 57. So this must be, okay. And these are all Mission Viejo, Rancho Santa Margarita. These are searches. It didn't outline them or lay them out the way that, but these are all searches that I have set up. So I have expireds. These are all, the title name of the search is just expired, but the search is just sold, just listed. Oops. Just sold, just listed. What else comes up? Notice of default, notice of sales. So I get these the day that they come up, and they last for about 3 or 4 days on my email. So I'll get it 3 or 4 days in a row, and then it'll go away.
Okay.
So you can set those up automatically instead of weekly setting up the searches. So what I'm thinking now that I've come across this Melissa data in the school report, I can set up a specific search by carrier wrap now, because it allows you to go into the map and actually set up your search. And once that's the case, I will automatically get a notification when something in that prime area or ideal area pops up, and then we can go into to working it from there. So it's all automated. It's not very expensive, and I'm not sure what happened to the XL export there, but it's all automated and it works. I mean, it works for me. It's handy to do. It's not very expensive, and it doesn't require a lot of administration, which is a beautiful thing.
It's like $1 a day.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's good data. I mean, I use phone numbers on this, and instead of the dialer that I'm getting ready to get rid of now, but the dialer that I use, instead of using their numbers, I import the numbers here, and I get good numbers when I do the circle calls and things like that around listings that we have. And that's another thing that I use it for. If we have a property that comes onto the market, I'll pull up that specific address, and then I will circle up to 800, 900 names that have phone numbers, and we'll start dialing those and let them know we just listed a property or just sold a property, and we just save the list.
Okay. Now I'm going to pull up the question panel just to see if we got any questions here. If Hassel's asking what file, I know you just said you're getting rid of your dialer, but what dialer were you using?
Arch Agent, and it's not Arch Agent's file. I'm just finding that approach is not as effective as a couple other ideas that I want to allocate that money to, and that's about $60 a month.
Okay.
So between the two, it's almost $100, a little less than $100.
Okay. Yeah, there's hey Dana Truman, if you're still on, what was the one you were using? You were using $1 before too. Maybe we can give a couple examples to Fassel and everybody else. So that was Arch Dialer?
Arch Agent dialer.
Arch Agent, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I believe they use cold resources for their numbers.
Okay. And Dottie's asking, does it give you a phone number also? And I think that you said the answer is yes, but I think you said you were preferred to import in your own phone numbers.
Well, I import from Rebo Gateway. I import their numbers, and you can filter out the do not call numbers also. On this. I don't know if you guys saw that Excel sheet, but on this filter here, you can filter out or filter in phone numbers included. So these are the type properties. These are phone numbers only. You can do not call, filter that out. You can filter out properties that are owned by real estate agents. They also scrape for that. And then you can also filter out properties that are listed on the multiple listing service. So if it's a for sale by owner that's listed in the MLS, or if it's an expired that's been relisted, you can filter that out ahead of time.
Excellent. Okay. Let's see. This is Fassel. Okay. Fassel says, is there a trial period, and does it replace Arch Agent? Espresso Agent, Mojo Systems, what dollar to use? Okay. So he's using Arch Agent. So I guess they answered that question too.
Yeah, and there are two separate things. I mean, Mojo will give you numbers, and they have a variety of different tiers that you can use. And I prospect with people who do that. And again, part of it was cost basis, and part of it was just what I realized from what I was getting for the cost. I use the Rebo Gateway because that's something that I kind of institutionalized, and then I use the Arch Dialer instead of subscribing to their numbers. And then I just import it into there. So I export the CSV file, put it in the Arch Agent file, import it, name it, and then start dialing.
Excellent. Okay. Hang on, we got another question here from Andy. This is a little bit different subject. Andy's, Gary, who is the person, Keller Williams, New York City Market Center, who's investing in Manhattan? Hey, Andy, look up Natasha's on here. Hey, Natasha, have you put your profile out on the community site? If not, either way, Andy, if you could do me a favor, shoot an email to me, Gary at myinvestmentservices.com, or I'll wait for Natasha's response, but I'll hook you up with Natasha. She lives right up there in Queens, I believe. Queens or Brooklyn, I forget. I think it's Queens, and if it's right across the river from Manhattan, and if she doesn't want to go in there, we do have agents in Midtown Manhattan Market Center too. Let me get back down towards the bottom here because I want to make sure we got any new questions. Dana Truman was using Land Voice, guys. So Dana Truman's up in Maine, and he had some success with Land Voice too. So I can get a discount link to folks. So if you guys want to do Land Voice, Dana, same thing. You should be on the community site so these folks can find you. If not, shoot me the information, Dana, and we'll get it out to all the folks. Okay. So if they want to connect to Land Voice, they can go through you. All right. Dana says dollars are like Lucy in Chocolate Factory. Okay, cool. Oh, Natasha is saying use Mojo. Oh, by the way, Andy, Natasha's last name, I'm sorry, is Vaughn. Vaughan. Natasha Vaughn. Okay, she was using Mojo. A lot of people use Mojo. It's a 3-line dollar. By the way, her email address is natasha@corneliusgroup.us. Natasha@corneliusgroup.us. Phone number 917. So Natasha, you're going to get a lot of calls now. All right, name 917-804-1602. 917-804-1602. KW New York. And so if Andy, give her a shout out. Okay, we just got through all the questions. So let me look back here. It's 8:07, Cedric.
Okay.
Hey, Cedric, I really appreciate it. Yeah, doing this.
One last thing on this. I found the farms. You can set up to 7 farms with 1,000 searches on each one. So that's what these farms are, how I labeled them. So these will come to me every day. If one of those things have the NOD, the divorce, the just sold, just listed, expired for sale by owner in one of these areas, then I get an email every morning.
Okay. You know what? Hey, John Barnes, if you're on the call, boy, this is right up your alley, man. If you want to contact Cedric directly, he's in your area. Do you know John Barnes, Cedric?
Yeah, I know really well.
Yeah.
We just talk we talk pretty much every day.
Cool. Well, he's engaged, man. He's creating his own school report, and we played it with for a little bit. He got it down to what works best for him, I think. And he's making things happen. So you guys might be able to team up on a few things. Yeah. Well, hey, Cedric, while I got you, man, you bring a lot of experience to the table. Any words of wisdom? There's a lot of people on here who are not as advanced as you and some of your experience. But if you could think back, is there one thing you can think of, or two things? One thing you can think of that you're so glad you did because it really did make a huge difference. Maybe it was a mentor you had, something they said to you, or maybe it was. And the second one is something you wish you had known or wish you had done earlier, because people need to hear these things, and because everybody starts somewhere. We all start with where we are and who we are and what we know, and sometimes it's not much, So
I think you touched on one of the key ones, and that is get a mentor and someone to model their business after. And then the one thing that I wish I had done and started earlier was investing in real estate for myself, which is what my mentor told me probably day one to do. But that would be the other thing. Is start investing for myself.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I'll tell you, everybody on here, just so you know, for me personally, I don't push this a lot because I want you to focus on the systems first, building systems around yourself that generate cash flow in the way of commissions, because it solves two things. It solves cash flow, which means you get money coming in, and it solves knowledge. So when you go out there and invest, instead of doing it because you're pushing and forcing yourself, doing it because the time's right, you're right, you've got the experience working with other investors, you know how it works now, you know what to look for, you know what makes sense, and you've got the money to do it. Because ultimately, I want all of you to invest. Every single one of you should invest. It's not a requirement, and of all the streams of income you can have, it's the one that has the highest probability of being the most passive. And by the way, John just sent a message, and so he says, Cedric, let's see, I just lost that. Where was it? Hang on, let me go back up. Hang on, John. Oh, here. Cedric and I are working on it together. Tell him he is the teacher's pet. Yeah. Okay, Fassel saying, thank you, Gary, for being my mentor. You rock. You're welcome, Fassel. I'm glad to do it, man. So, Fassel, as soon as I saw this, I thought of you. I was like, man, I got to get this on the webinar. For everybody, any of you who have struggled with getting public record data, just consider this, because it's essentially like $1 a day. And look at this capability. I mean, 7 searches up to 1,000 each. I mean, nobody can handle 7,000, leads, but
Yeah,
If you got a team, you can.
yeah.
I mean, for the folks in Atlanta and in Hoover, Alabama, if any of you guys are from Hoover, Alabama, as a group that are working together, man, you might really want to consider this, because that's right around Birmingham, and you got a large population area there, and you guys are crushing it. You're the only ones actually doing it, actually. So, in any case, let me check here one more time, Cedric. I think we're good on the questions. Yeah, we are. And once again, I think everybody would say they appreciate you demonstrating this and showing them another alternative. And to me, here's how I see this. I might spend $1 a day, but it might save me an hour a day of labor, and that's why it's worth it. So, in any case, Cedric, thanks again, man. I look forward to it. I just saw you send an email to me. I'm going to look at that when I get off the webinar tonight, and I know we're going to be following up here probably in the next week or so also. And for everybody else, I hope you guys got a kick out of this tonight. This was an extra special treat. If you're new or a veteran, make sure you get the recording. You can play it again and jot down some notes while you replay it. And everybody should be looking to each other to work together. We have a lot of groups forming together, and the results speak for themselves. People are forming workshops together, guys, and getting as many as 4 clients the very first workshop, and more than that even in some cases. So just look for each other, help each other, support each other, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here. It looks like by the end of September we will do our first 3-day live event, and it's likely going to be in the New York area, and then the next one will be in the LA area, and then we're going to work our way back across all the major metropolitan areas to make sure everybody has an opportunity to get together as a group. So keep a lookout for that. Also, another thing, we are developing the program where we teach you how to put on a classroom for your students, and here's the benefits. Number one is you're going to get one of the other training programs of your choice as part of it, okay, which you should learn anyways, especially if you want to invest. You also get to have your clients purchase the program, and we split the proceeds with you, so you earn money that way. The third way is obviously you get more commissions from these people because they're going to be buying properties and selling. And the fourth way is this. Now your clients are operating and learning the tools and the techniques, all right, and not as the level that you do, but enough that they're going to be singing from the same song sheet that you're operating from, which means no more struggles trying to convince people to do things your way. They're going to be trained to do things your way. So if you really are interested in that, and we had a large response the other week. As a matter of fact, if that sounds appealing to you guys, just type in your chat box now or your question box, say, Gary, that sounds like the kind of thing I want to be involved in. It's a way for you to get intimately involved with really helping your clients and profit in multiple ways yourself. Get the program you want yourself, by the way, and have them make sure that they're doing things the exact same way that you want them to have them do it. So if that sounds appealing to you, give me a shout out, because we're going to make sure you're included on the when we roll it out. And by the way, that one technique, guys, is resulted in me making at years as much as $800,000 just on that one technique. Okay, yeah, a lot of you guys are saying, yeah, that sounds like what I want. Actually, absolute game changer. There's no prerequisites. We were going to make the workshop the prerequisite for that. It would help if you did your first workshop first, but not a requirement. We're going to walk you through everything. So, okay, guys. Hey, have a good night, Cedric. A lot of people are saying thank you. Dana was the first one. He's your brother from another mother from Moose County, Maine. Old Orchard Beach. He's a surfer. He's got a surf shop up there, and I've actually slept on the futon in the surf shop. So, in any case, thank you guys for participating tonight. Thank you again, Cedric, for doing this. We will see you all next week, and next week webinar is going to be on Wednesday night the 10th. And remember, Monday the 15th, we've got Ken Wimberly on. He's the master of triple net leases and showing you how to profit from them in your business. So you definitely want to participate in that one. So he's from Abilene, Texas. Okay, guys, hope you all have an awesome night. I will see you next week, and God bless every one of you. And thanks again too, Cedric, okay? Bye-bye.
So long, guys.